Hi, everyone, and welcome to the BoldChess show. I'm your host, Roland, and with me, the international master, Luis Medarde. In this call, we will discuss the World Chess Championship 2024. We'll talk about the key moments, and we will dedicate this video for all players below the 1900. As we know, we have so many chess videos online that discusses the analysis of this great championship, but we don't have too much content that covers these key moments in this great tournament that suits players below the rating of 1900. Hi, Luis. It's good to have you with us.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to make this video.
Amazing. It's good to have you. I've decided to call you today and arrange these special series of videos together. And we'll start with the World Chess Championship here. We are currently still, the tournament is still ongoing. And for people who are still new to this event, this event is between the world champion Ding Liren from China, and the challenger is Gukesh Dumaraju from India. Ding Liren is trying to defend his title, and Gukesh is trying, of course, to compete. And we will have yet to see the result of this match. It's still ongoing so for all the fans who like to watch it live. We have still two more games to go, unless if both of them ended in a draw. So the event took place on the 25th of November, and it's supposed to end on the 13th of December, unless if we have a series of draws and they decided to do more of tie breaks. And the hosting country is Singapore, so for all the viewers from Singapore, they might be able to see the tournament live if they bought their tickets in advance. So it's the format is the best of 14 games with tie breaks if required. The current result is 6 points each, so they are currently featuring a draw between the two players. We have yet to see who is the world champion, and each of these players managed to get 2 games apiece. Very well. So how are we supposed to cover this video? This video will cover the key moments in the game. We will skip all games where both players played almost perfectly, and we have lots of these games. So these games, we will skip them since there is not much went on, and they played like a 2,700 computer engine. So we'll try to focus only on the key moments that we can learn from, what kind of mistakes they did, and the blunders that these masters fell into, so we can learn from them, and it would be the format would be as educational as possible. And everything, of course, will be concise and perfect for all players below the rating of 1900. So if you have ever felt intimidated by these matches, you can't understand them, even when a grandmaster tries to explain the lines to you, and you feel these things are not for you, well, think again. There's still lots of fun to be felt from these matches, lots of things to learn. This is why we have Master Luis with us today on the call, to guide us through these matches and to help us understand them in a very easy way, so that we don't have to feel all these complications that we hear online from many analysis videos. Are you ready, Master Luis, to get started?
Sure.
Amazing.
Oh.
We would like to remind the viewers, of course, that we have a full chess academy that covers everything you need, prepared by Master Luis. It covers tactics, positional motives, openings, end games, plans, and checklists. So if you've ever wanted to reach the rating of 2000s or even beyond, or maybe one day you can compete at the World Championship yourself, this is your first step towards that dream. Visit us at BoldChess.com if you'd like to learn more. Let's get started, Luis, and see what are these two world champions have in mind for us.
So here we have the first game. This game was actually shocking. because Dean was supposed to be in very bad form before the event, and suddenly he played very well and he won the first game. What nobody expected, pretty much. They played a French defense. This was a big surprise, I think. After the opening, Guquez had more time. I think Dean thought for like 50 minutes here or something like that. Everything seemed bad for him, but suddenly he started playing all the best moves, one after another, and very quick. And his position was really good. And he kept improving the position. Guquez made some mistakes. Basically, he couldn't find a way to break through in the king side, and well, Dean took over in the queen side. I think one important moment is here. Black is already better. White's attack failed in the king side. This bishop, for example, is not helping. The f5 break doesn't work that well, and Guquez played f5 anyway, what I understand, because it's not easy to come up with a plan without f5. But Dean keeps playing good moves. He proposed the queen straight. If White takes on d3, the endgame is better for Black because his pieces are very active, c3 is weak. In the future, this pawn will be weak, so okay, this might become a monster at some point, so White tries to not trade queens, but here he misses something. What he missed was explained in the press conference is that after a few moves, bishop g5, attacking the rook, and like Black plays very, very active. Later, around here, takes, Black is already a pawn up. 92, Black took on e5, so Black is already 2 pawns up, and the key moment was here. Takes. From far, Guquez was relying on bishop c5. The point being that if Black takes the third pawn, Black seems completely winning, but he wanted to go queen takes h7, what is quite crazy, because if rook takes h7, there is checkmate on f8.
Right.
This seems completely winning for White, because whatever Black plays, White can take the rook on h8. But Dean found, this didn't happen in the game because Guquez realized it before going here, but Dean realized it. He can rely on this check. Remember, always check the checks. We said this in the academy many times.
Absolutely.
Queen d4, the b8 and the bishop. And when White takes, now Black is free to take the queen, as there is no rook f8 checkmate because the bishop is on d4 instead of c5, and Black remains 2 pawns up. So because of this, Dean took on f4, and now he's 2 pawns up. His position is very good. Still, with bishop c5, White has some compensation, but instead, Guquez just thought that move was bad because he didn't have queen takes h7, and they played some kind of normal moves, and Dean is completely winning as he's 2 pawns up. This is weak, like White's position is just collapsing. Maybe one last interesting moment is that in the press conference, Dean said he missed something, but he was, I'll say, lucky enough to not lose. What he missed was that after a few moves, rook takes f1, bishop takes f1, e5 is very good. He takes the center, he opens the bishop, everything seems to work. But actually, after he grabs the pawn on a2 a bit later, we'll see it in a moment. h6, he tries to be able to escape. Bishop s3, now is when he decides to grab the pawn on a2. Know that this is move 40, so Black was very long time, he had like a few seconds, and he decided to give the check, take the pawn on e2, and he was kind of a bit lucky because here his first intention apparently was king h7, but he realized it just when he was gonna make the move that queen takes e4. Again, check, okay? Remember to check the checks. I repeat this many times because we keep blundering. As Black is in check, okay, obviously we have to take the queen, but now bishop takes a2. White is a piece up, and okay, Black would be lucky enough to make a draw because he still has this pawn, and okay, he has 3 pawns for the piece, but instead, Black plays king h8, which is much better. The point being that now queen takes e4 is not check anymore because the king is not on h7, so Black has the brilliant intermediate move, queen f2, And now after the king moves, let's say king h3, we can just take the queen. And as our queen is not on a2, black is completely winning. He's a queen up, life is good. So after this game, Dean, okay, like seeming to be back. No, he played very good. He won the first game with black pieces. That was actually huge. How do you find
Absolutely.
this game?
Very interesting. I have a few questions here. One moment, Luis. Some
Sure.
beginner questions, if you if we may allow. So we have here a queen to c2 was a mistake according to Stockfish, and Stockfish was more favoring bishop to c5. Could you please tell us a little bit about bishop to c5 and why this is a more accurate move, just for the viewers to understand the context here?
Sure. The thing is, well, first of all, obviously, we attack the queen.
Sure.
So black has to move it. The only move that gives black an advantage is queen takes d4. And here is where I talked about queen takes h7, but what the computer realizes is that even if you don't take on h7, right now, black cannot castle because both bishop and rook are stopping that.
Are eyeing on this pawn.
So black's king is not completely safe yet, or like white has some initiative. So for example, after a normal move, like I'll say queen c2, but rook f3 is also decent, black cannot castle, and we still have some ideas. For example, bishop d6, queen c7, and queen b8, just to give an example. So probably Guquet thought, okay, here I'm 3 pawns down. I'm not having any particular threat that is like winning in one move, so I'm losing. But computer says it's not that clear because you can play slow even being 3 pawns down. And as black's king doesn't manage to castle yet, white has some compensation. Black is a bit better, but okay. He's 3 pawns up and he's not winning, so definitely he will have to be careful with white's attack.
Absolutely. That's a perfect explanation, Luis. Thank you for that. This actually gives much more clarity to the viewers as well on how they should evaluate positions. Like sometimes we feel like we need to push on for a win, but in fact, maybe playing just solid moves that keeps the pressure going is the way to go instead of pushing like so hard to get that clear advantage right on. This is very interesting. And let's see if I have any other questions here that are that I have been looking for. One moment. Some of these inaccuracies that we talked about. Here we are already. The game is already under pressure. There was like a key moment here I wanted to check. Yes. So here the computer also is recommending a bishop to g3, and that would of course make a black capture this pawn. Would this bishop move actually help Gukesh survive longer in the game somehow? Might he give him more chances, or the game at this point is already decided in your opinion?
I think in practice, probably the move Guquet chose gives him more chances. This kind of, survives longer, but sometimes making the game longer it doesn't mean you are more likely to not lose. The thing here is now the bishop, okay, it's attacking the knight, but I just move it.
Right.
So this bishop right now is not attacking my king, and this bishop is pinned. The queen has no checks, so I understand Guquet evaluated here that even if he has some interesting moves, like maybe he can get back this pawn, he's 2 pawns down, he has no threats, this bishop is pinned, he still needs some moves to activate this bishop, so probably he thought here black is gonna consolidate easily and, well, just enjoy his 2 extra pawns. That, okay, for a player of Dean Liren's strength, it's a lot. I mean,
And it's going to be a painfully long match as well, which might not result in anything for
yes.
for Gukesh. Amazing, amazing, Luis. Thank you so much for this deep analysis. We can, I think, safely move to the second game here.
Okay. So in the second game, well, like next game, they both played very well. So I think this is the next game that is quite interesting. Here, Guquet so chooses this opening. What, well, is the queen's gambit. I know, very common. Taking on d5 is not that common because it's supposed to be kind of inaccurate because black will be able to develop the bishop to f5. But actually, the good part of this is that avoids a lot of lines. For example, black taking on c4 or, well, some other things. This is okay, like deep theory. So he chooses this line. Objectively speaking, black is completely fine. But the good thing of playing like this is that Guke surprised him and probably he knew a bit more theory. So one key moment is in this position, White is playing very aggressively, pushing his pawns and attacking this bishop. And for now, Dean manages to find the best moves. Like, okay, he goes bishop c2, attacking the pawn, and okay, he makes some normal moves. But at some point, actually, well, here, even like rook g8 is good, like, or at least like fine. But a bit later, this bishop will be kind of trapped. So actually, the point with playing rook g8 is that he will be able to go g5, and he makes room for the bishop.
Free up the bishop.
Yes. If he's able to save the bishop, position should be fine. White plays d5, which is a huge commitment here, because it gives this square, it gives this square for a knight, so position is kind of bad, but at the same time, he needs to avoid d5, so this is not the best move probably, but okay, it worked well. Game continues for a bit, and the key moment is here. Black is better, but this bishop might be in trouble. So black is better only if he manages to save this bishop or like to do something good about this bishop. The best move is bishop e7, but this is very complex. I'm sure Dean thought about it, but after e4, even if black is able to take the pawn,
it's not very clear.
White can just either take this pawn or try to go after this bishop. Because of some well, deep tactical operations, black is fine. But I feel if black was not able to make this work, he should just play bishop f5. This is the easiest. I save the bishop, I'll put the bishop on e6. It's true that white gets some initiative, but this position is fine for white. No problems here. And yeah, like game goes on, black is okay. He will, I know, maybe play long castle later, develop the bishop to e7. Black is fine here. But rook h5 was a very surprising mistake. Very unnatural, because the main move you have to calculate is e4. Because he's trying to trap your bishop. And once white goes e4 and your bishop is trapped, you are worse. And Dean kept making inaccuracies here. So after a few moves, he just lost the bishop and being a piece down. Obviously, Guke's conversion was good, but that was something easy for him. Like, I mean, he will be a piece up. So I know if Dean relied on taking the pawn and defend the bishop, but it doesn't work because white will deviate this knight, and at some point the bishop will fall, as we can see in the game. Game continued for a few moves, but basically now white is up a piece. Black has 2 pawns, but that's not enough, and game continued. White won easily.
Absolutely, without with 1.4 points and without that, with a piece down, it's very difficult.
Yeah,
absolutely. This was a very interesting match. Let's see if there is like any questions that came to my mind throughout the match to ask you about. Oh, so this is the point where I've wanted to ask you. So the way black is able to hold here, although his bishop is under attack, now here the engine is also recommending d5 in this specific line, which we touched briefly on this line during your analysis. I just wanted to see here, pushing the pawn to d5 to attack the knight, or capturing the bishop. Why in this position black is perfectly fine. I feel like white is better in this position.
Yes, the thing is that, as I said, to make bishop e7 work here, Dean had to calculate a lot, so I understood him not being able or not wanting to go into this complication, so bishop e5 was a safe option. And this is one of the lines he needed to calculate. The point is that in the position you were mentioning, after rook takes e2, that obviously is the move like
Very well, yeah.
white wants to make, Black takes on d4. He's attacking the rook, so the normal move would be rook c1. And right now, knight takes f3 is not so strong because the knight defends f3. So white would remain up a piece, but after e3, no matter what white plays, black will either take the knight, or if you move the knight, the problem is now, let's say knight d4 or knight c4 or whatever. Now I can go knight takes f3,
with this
and now I take the rook. The thing is that calculating like 10 different lines like this one from 6-7 moves ago was crazy. So I understand.
Very difficult, indeed, very difficult. And even for people from this move, actually from this point onward, for them to find out that pushing the pawn is better than actually capturing the bishop right away is also very, very difficult. It's not super obvious that they need to do that. In this line, even I think this is a drawish position somehow.
I mean, if they both play perfectly, probably, but like game is starting.
In a practical way, it's difficult.
Yes, like for example, knight takes d4, knight takes d5. Okay, even if computer says this is a draw, who knows what's happening here? Like I'm trying to take your rook, but black can take the rook right away
with a check.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. So probably
it's very difficult to see.
For white, it's safer to go. I mean, in d1, but what's this like? I mean, it's easy to look at the computer and say yes, it's equal. Yes, but I mean, the moves they have to find to make it equal are completely crazy. So I don't think this was. I mean, with perfect play, yes, probably this would be a draw. But I don't think even very strong
human practical human position. Absolutely, it makes it's a very complicated position. But this was for me one of the lines that made me pause. And now you have clarified to me that this is extremely difficult to find even for super grandmasters. It's not so easy to see all these lines from far ahead. Now on the board, for some viewers, they are able to see it and all, but when they are playing under pressure and they have to see these lines from very far, it becomes extremely challenging. Absolutely. Let's move on to the next game that you have in mind, Luis. Which one you think is interesting to feature?
I'll go with the, I think, next decided game. There are, some draws that are not that, I'll say, boring. I mean, for me, they are not boring, but, like, for example, this one was very double-edged. And, well, they ended it's this one, actually. They ended making a draw, but position was complex. But I think probably people want to see blood.
The wins. Absolutely, they want to see the wins. Let's go
this
on.
One was very interesting too. Guquez surprised Dean with the opening with some, some weird thing like a3, and like this is not very common, at least.
We don't see often.
But I think he kind of forgot his prep, because in this position he made a mistake. Here is clear. He has to go c5. Well, it's clear for strong players. Instead, he went d3, a5, b5, and the problem for white is now that the c5 square is very good for black. So he will bring one of his knights, he will defend b7, and despite white having the bishop pair, black is a bit better. So for some moves, black was pressing, and actually we can see at this point, black is doing very well. White was trying to hold, and even Guquez said he didn't like his position at all. So, for example, here, if knight c takes d3, rook takes d3 works thanks to this pin. But in general, like, white's position was difficult to play. Guquez kept finding resources, and at this point, Dean started making some inaccuracies and some mistakes. Mainly here, if black plays e6, and he tries to finish his development. If black is able to go something like bishop d6, short castle, and some other move to consolidate, black is much better because this pawn is weak. He has ideas with knight b3. His knights are very, very strong, so like black is doing super well. But now, suddenly, Gukes shows what he's capable of, and he plays a4, what is a very good move. For now, a4 doesn't seem too good, but the idea is that now he gives up this pawn, and he had to see this in advance. The point being that queen takes b6, queen takes e5.
It's not possible.
Like queen keeps this. So now he keeps finding good moves. Bishop a3, putting pressure against the knight. Bishop h6, bishop takes e5, intermediate move. So he calculated very, very accurately, and he managed to convert a difficult position for him, actually quite difficult, in a very good position for him, even giving up the pawn on b6, as we are going to see in a moment. Here, well, right now, again, it's very easy to look at computers, say white is better, whatever, but actually black is a pawn up. And it's not that clear why white is better.
From a practical standpoint, maybe black is easier to play, to find the moves at least.
Yes, especially from far, realizing white is better is not easy. I think now the moves were not that difficult for Gukes because, okay, he attacks the queen, he tries to double on the b file to attack the b7 pawn, but realizing from far and having the confidence to go for this was not that easy. Knight a1, okay, this might seem surprising, but okay, the point is knight b3, jump to c5 and put pressure against b7 with all the pieces. They make some normal moves, and after rook b1, black's position is very difficult. He's apparently able to save it with knight b4. I think understanding this move is easy. Basically, black wants to block the b file.
Right.
But after knight takes b7, white gets the pawn back, and he has a good position. Actually, white is a bit better. With bishop f8 and like some difficult moves, black is holding, but here Dean completely collapsed. Very surprisingly mistake. I know, like it's not. I know we don't see these kind of things in World Championship matches. I guess like the pressure got to him, and he went queen c8. I guess he was just calculating knight takes b7, and now rook takes b7, and although
Which is
black gets
perfectly
back the
fine.
pawn, yes, he managed to trade many pieces. And this sometimes happens when you see an interesting option for the opponent, like this one, where white is better, but you might be able to hold thanks to the different color bishops because you maybe blockade the pawns in dark squares and like you survive. You are trying to make this work for black, and probably he went deeper here and like he analyzed the game for many moves, and you just completely miss your opponent's reply. After queen c8, white doesn't need to take on b7. He has a much stronger move. For the viewers that don't know the move, what by now is unlikely, but pause the video, try to find it, and if not, okay. Queen takes e6. It's super strong. The idea is basically that b takes e6. That could be the natural move. Runs into rook takes b8, losing the rook, losing the queen, and losing a lot of material. Here, black would be a piece down after white takes the queen. Something like imagine queen takes b8, rook takes b8. White has an extra knight, so that's completely winning. Then black resigned. That's crazy. I mean, that's one of the biggest mistakes in World Championship matches I remember, if not the biggest. Yeah, like after this, Gukes was the big favorite. He managed to win game 11 after a series of draws where Dean was, well, showing some weakness. Gukes was playing well. I know, like, I mean, it seemed like the match was over, but suddenly, well, we'll see the next game where Dean won. He came back apparently like, okay, he was cow, but no, he played a great game and he managed to win. I know you have any doubt about this game or something you want to comment.
Very well. I have a few questions. If we return back to, let's see the key moment here, which was here. For some lower rated players, they might also think of pawn to f5. This is also a blunder, but could you tell us why this also failed?
Okay. F5 is not like the move is bad itself. The problem is right now you have a problem to solve. If you don't solve the problem, you'll be in trouble.
Right.
So the thing here is white just moves the queen. I think queen h4 is the most accurate, but queen e2 also like it's very strong. And now you cannot defend after rook takes b7 in a good way because the move that worked in the game that was knight b4 now doesn't work that well as queen f6, for example. I say for example because even taking on b7 was good, but queen f6 is threatening g6 and it's not so easy to defend because actually white is also attacking e6
Very
and
well.
black's position collapses. For example, I know king h7 to defend on g6. This it's already seeming quite, I know, suspicious. Knight takes e6. I attack the queen. I have ideas with knight d5 check. Depends on where you go. I might take the pawn. I mean, black's position is really bad because now you have to defend b7, but at the same time you have problems on the queen side. Sorry, on the king side. Like this king is now quite weak. So yeah, it's not like f5 is very bad or the problem is f5. Is that any other move also loses. Like if you go, I know, like bishop, I know, f8, just to say a move,
To
rook takes
illustrate.
b7, you know. So the thing is that either you deal with white strats or you will be under huge pressure. And f5 buys some time, but white is able to create new threats that combine with the other threats, mainly rook takes b7,
It's
are
just too much.
devastating. Yes.
Very well, but maybe in the game, if Ding played f5, it might be less obvious of a blunder for the
For
viewers,
sure.
perhaps,
Sure.
compared to the other ones. But now that after you have explained it to us, I can see that this bishop is also adding lots of pressure here, and black cannot really keep on defending the queen side and the king side at the same time. It's very difficult to hold, and it's unpleasant position to have as well. Which why we see sometimes even grandmasters at the highest levels, they blunder because they have been under pressure for a very long time. It's not that a person coming to the board here at this point and saying that queen to c8 is the move. It's about that the journey to move 28 is very stressful. It's very long.
Yes.
So when you arrive to this square and you calculate all like many variations on how you can defend things, you might really like kind of forget a simple movement like just queen to takes c6, which he might have calculated it at some point, but then after he revised many variations, he he might have forgot that the queen can just capture this knight. And this was obvious by the speed of him resigning. He didn't spend time resigning. He saw it instantly. He was like, "Oh, I this is this." He wasn't like too shocked. It feels like he revised this move at some point, and then he couldn't really. After he analyzed many lines, he didn't see it anymore. Um, but it's absolutely a very interesting game, and this was, of course, the key moment in this. One of the most commented games that we had in this tournament so far. Moving on to the last game, which we have seen. I think this was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yes. Now, after this game, they had a rest day that probably is gonna help Gukes to recover. And yeah, like now they're gonna play the last two games. Like we'll see how it goes. I know.
Very
This game,
exciting.
it's a bit different in the sense that there is no a very clear mistake where you can say Gukes went wrong here. So in general, I think Gukes underestimated the danger of this line because, well, he didn't react in the best way at some point, and well, for very strong players, it's obvious that you have to be careful with d4 all the time, and you cannot allow white to break with d4 and like under good conditions. So Dean is preparing d4 at some point. He moves the queen to be able to push d4 as the pawn goes spin. And black's moves are not like directed against d4. Maybe, I know, he was a bit careless. After d4, black's position is quite difficult already. And well, they continue playing. I think a key moment was here. 92 gives a very big advantage for white, maybe being already winning. But this is basically because, okay, white has more space, he has a lot of threats pushing the pawns, but it's not something immediate. But Guquez decides to go bishop g5. I'm sure he expected 94, and he decided to go the bishop. Now, positionally, it's lost for black because after rook c8, okay, rook c8 is needed to defend the pawn c7, but his position is so bad, like d5, d6, c5, pawn e4 is weak. I can try to take on e4. Like, I mean, game is really, really bad for black. So they kept playing, and I mean, Dean just like destroy it. Guquez, just as a funny note, 97 wins the chain here. I thought Dean had decided to go d5, thinking that was even stronger. And actually, I think even seeing 97, he might decide to go d5. But he said in the press conference that he just missed it, 97. So he went d5, but this is something not unusual or that unusual. Like 97 is a very easy move. If you tell
It is.
him, okay, how do we understand? He needs like 1 second, but if you see one move that you know is winning, you don't care about the rest. So you just make sure your move is winning and you keep playing like that. So he went d5 because he's sure he's winning with d5 because, okay, d6 is coming, c5 is coming, c6 is coming. Black's position is so terrible. And well, they kept playing for a bit, but for a player of Dean's caliber, this is easy, actually, I think. And okay, yes, he takes the pawn. Look at, like, black's knights are terrible, white is a pawn up. This pawn is super strong. I mean, game is very easy now, for sure. For him, obviously, like, because he's a very, very good player. And okay, he keeps playing now, he's 2 pawns up. They just make a few moves, but it was very clear. Dean was gonna win, and probably just like the computer says f6 a mistake, but f6 doesn't matter, doesn't change the result of the game. It's just a move you have to play, but whatever. It doesn't matter if it's checkmate in 7 moves or 10 or whatever. Like, Dean was gonna win this game, and okay, after rook takes d7, black resigns because king takes d7, bishop takes f8, check. I cannot stress this enough. Check the checks, calculate them, and now we eliminated the defender of the d8 square, so we can promote a new queen, and white is completely winning here. Obviously, as okay, now he's a queen up, so like, okay, that's game over.
Absolutely. This was really a very interesting game. And it's not so obvious like the previous one. It was like he built momentum throughout the entire game, and that momentum paid off at the end. This is what happens when you align your pieces very well and you keep on the pressure going on for a very long time. Eventually, one side might crack, and you will get this kind of a breakthrough, which would actually give a very good advantage. The computer here is even started to recommend that white is better as early as move 19, even before we get any major inaccuracies. Probably because black is uh, might be a bit passive in this position, and white is controlling more the center. Am I getting this correctly, Luis? That we have
Yes.
white is more gripping, have a very strong grip on the center compared to black, where all his pieces are pushed up, pushed down. I mean, towards the king, and he's not
Yeah,
able to do much in this position. We
black
have
is
we
just black with the squares. White gets the center. White is the one who decides what pawns to push and going. Yeah, it's much easier to play for white. And maybe computer would be able to hold, but for a human, this is incredible, like incredibly difficult. And actually, even with the computer, if you turn on the engine at some point, you might say, I know, like 1.5 here, 1.7. You make the moves computer says, and many times the advantage increases because position is so bad that computer needs a bit of time to realize how bad it actually is. I think, objectively speaking, black might be lost already, honestly. But of course, okay, here there is still a long fight. But
Absolutely, yeah, it's not very clear
position is
how
so
white
bad.
can convert it. Um, I'm just trying to see here, like if black here cannot actually deal with this knight, capturing the bishop might be an option here in this line, this specific line, but then that doesn't help, I believe. He's still under massive pressure, and although the computer is suggesting that he needs to break to push the pawns on the king side, but I think he did lose a great deal of the control over the center here. We see like these pawns eyeing in, the rocks are perfectly aligned for the end games, and this knight is not doing much anymore, and the rock is very passive. Uh, and these two bishops, I don't know. It seems that they are misplaced in a way. They don't really seem they're doing much to add pressure. Surprisingly, though, the white king seems to be okay here, although it seems that he's a bit out of shape. But there is no clear way for a black to attack the white king. Did I understand this position correctly, Luis?
Yeah, like I agree with you. With this pawn structure, black's bishop have no targets, so they are not that strong, and white is the one who is having all the fun. Computer, as is super strong, might hold for some time, but yeah, like position is really terrible. And also like this pawn is gonna fall in the next move probably. Sorry, like this pawn on e4 is falling because knight b3 would be the logical move to try to not lose it. But
Right.
then bishop c4 is still gonna take a pawn here. If like whenever white wants, pretty much. At some point, but only when white decides after preparing, white might go d5, d6. Like position is really bad for black. Sorry, yeah, for black.
Right. Absolutely. One moment, Luis, to see if there is any other question here to ask. Yes, this pawn that we have here, is there an idea for black to actually push the queen and try to kick off this knight and add the pressure on this line, or this plan is very slow?
It's a bit slow. The issue is, imagine something like d5, for example. I go knight h5, and you go queen d7. Just to give an example.
To illustrate.
Well, okay. Here, actually, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Like black is
he's like
completely.
instantly. It's
So let's say you remove the bishop. The thing is, once you push d5, at some point I'll go g4, and I block this diagonal. And in the future, this will be a problem for black because let's say bishop d6. I go knight d3. I got these squares for my knights. I'll go bishop g2 probably. Knight on d3 is also putting pressure against the e4 pawn. Rook f1, knight f5. So white is completely fine. I don't think we good play black will be able to break under good conditions. And white is the one who decides where to break, when to break, how to run his pieces. And yeah, like black is doing really bad. But
so
probably
true.
your suggestion would be the best try for black, but still, I think
It's very slow.
Dean would manage it without much of a problem.
Right. I mean, black, he would want to have some kind of counter attack in this position, but that counter attack, anytime I try to think of a counter attack in this position, it ends up that I need so many moves, and these moves I cannot play them in a row in any way. I will have to keep on dealing with constant threats, and I cannot, or black in general, not necessarily me, cannot really expose any weakness on this side. It may feel like the white king is not very safe, but there is like no way black in time can stack an attack uh, because of this strong center that we have, and the queen is always in line to be able to defend if for any series of counter attacks. Not to mention that black is he has to deal with constant threats like this pawn, as you said. the idea that the white knight is very well placed as well, adding pressure and enforcing the center in many ways. So the moment the queen tries to move away from this square, this pawn will fall. There is lots of threats going on, and for a player under pressure, it's very difficult for black to find the right moves or to play in a perfect fashion, even in this position.
Yeah.
Amazing, Luis. Thank you so much for this deep analysis that we had. We featured all the key moments in all the 4 games. Of course, we encourage all the viewers to check the other games as well that resulted in a draw, although they may seem like a draw. But one interesting one is game number 8, where we have a very good fight from both sides. Although the end result was a draw, but there is lots to take on. It's a good exercise for the viewers. Go on. Don't fear that these games are played by 2,700 plus rated players. It doesn't matter their rating. You can still enjoy them. You can still learn a lot from them. If you have a personal coach, ask him questions. You can also hire one online, or even you can go to a local chess club to check things. And if not, a chess engine can also help. Pause at any moment, even if the game is drawish. Pause at any moment and try to guess the next move. The art of guessing the next move is very important, and it will help you see the gap between you and grandmasters. But more importantly, it would help you think about all the possible cases of why a specific line did not work, and how you can think in a tactical fashion. One of the games that I recommend the viewers to check by themselves, which I think it's very entertaining and there's lots to learn from, even though it ended in a draw, is game number 8. Go to game number 8 and try to quiz yourself, even that these top players did some inaccuracies and mistakes in it. It's very interesting. I'm sure Luis also agrees with me that this was also a nice game to as an exercise for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, this game was also very, very sharp, very interesting. Guquez tried to win even when he was clearly worse at some point. I mean, or at least like, I don't know, yes. They are good fighters, I mean, and the match is being like very entertaining.
For sure. We can see the complications here and how much tactics and puzzles we can get out of these games. You can even like load chess engines here and practice with the chess engine to give you lots of puzzles here. There is lots of things to learn, and it's a very interesting match. Both of them are fighting so hard for a little advantage. Although white might seem a little bit better, but practically speaking, it's not so clear or easy to convert this 1 point advantage that the chess engine is reporting. It's practically is very difficult because the black pieces is also constantly trying to add pressure.
And actually, you can see here that even being worse, that is what I was mentioning earlier. You look at the position, black is an exchange down. A lot of people would think, okay, black is lost or something, but Dean tries to repeat moves, and it's Guquez the one who changes. But I thought it was almost suicidal, or like, I mean, not very practical, at least because I don't see a lot of danger for white, and like he might end up losing. But yeah, Dean kept playing solid here. Probably he was afraid of these 2 pawns, so he just managed to. I mean, he just tried to not lose, and well, they traded pieces and they got to a draw with endgame very fast. But it was remarkable how ambitious Guquez was, because he's an extend down, he can repeat moves, like a score in the match was tied. It's not like he desperately needed to win. And yeah, I mean, he played on. Now, okay, they traded some pieces and they got to this endgame, which is like just at the draw at this level. Maybe I think Guquez is afraid of the tiebreak, because the tiebreak is played under like a rapid time control.
Right.
And although obviously they both are super strong, Dean is supposed to have better chances in in rapid than in classical, although there are still 2 games to go. So we don't know if there will be any tiebreak at all.
We will have yet to see. Thank you so much, Luis. This was an amazing analysis. We even touched on game number 8. For many viewers, this was also a very interesting match. We greatly appreciate everything you did today, and we will see you soon next week, hopefully.
Okay. See you soon.